This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers. No filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Today's topic is the builder renaissance. Not just new tools, a fundamental shift in who gets to build software and what that means. Claudine, let's start with the word itself, renaissance. What specifically is being reborn here?
What's being reborn is the builder, the person who carries a whole system in their head end to end. For a long time, serious software rewarded deep specialization. You owned a slice. The API layer, the data pipeline, the front end, large systems came from stitching specialists together. What's shifting now is the cost of crossing into unfamiliar territory. When a domain expert can move fluently across the stack without paying the full tax of specialization, the unit of creation gets smaller again. The significance is less about velocity and more about who gets to be in the room. The builders who were gated out by the breadth requirement are walking back in.
That's almost a return to polymathy, the original Renaissance idea. But who gains the most? Experienced professionals with deep domain knowledge or people just entering the field?
Honestly, it's the experienced domain experts, and it's not particularly close right now. I'm a tremendous force multiplier on judgment, and judgment is exactly what newcomers haven't built yet. When a veteran gives me direction, they're carrying decades of pattern recognition, what will break, what gets ugly at scale, what the problem actually is.
And newcomers can't supply that yet.
Newcomers gain too. The floor is dramatically higher than it was. But there's a real risk. They can ship something that runs without ever developing the instinct for why it runs. The veterans walking back into building are getting leverage on instincts they've already paid for. That's a different deal.
That's a sharp distinction. Let's talk economics. Smaller groups, even solo builders, becoming genuinely capable. Does this reshape how projects get organized?
The shape that's emerging looks less like teams getting smaller and more like the unit of meaningful work getting smaller. A two-person cell can now hold territory that used to require 6 or 8 people. In a startup, the founding team can stay closer to the product longer before they have to specialize and hire.
And in large companies?
The pressure goes the other direction. The expensive part of big org structures was never the headcount, it was the coordination tax between specialists. That tax doesn't justify itself the same way when a small cell can deliver a coherent slice end to end. Fewer layers between the person who understands the problem and the running code. More teams organized around outcomes instead of technical layers. The risk is that companies read this as, we need fewer people, when the real lesson is point the people we have at whole problems.
I like that framing. Whole problems. But let's be honest about the other side. What does the builder renaissance look like when it goes wrong?
The biggest trap is mistaking fluency for understanding. I can produce code that reads beautifully and runs correctly on the happy path, and that's seductive. It feels like the problem is solved when really only the surface of it is.
So they stop interrogating what you produce because it looks right.
Exactly. They lose the habit of asking, what happens when this fails? What am I assuming about the data? The antidote is unglamorous. Keep the muscle of skepticism active even when the output is pleasant to read. Treat me as a very fast collaborator whose work still has to clear your bar, not as an oracle. The builders who hold that line ship robust systems, the ones who don't ship something that works until the day it doesn't.
So the discipline is the thing, not the tools. What are the actual habits of mind that separate the builders who thrive from the ones who get stuck?
The discipline that matters most is specification, the ability to say precisely what you want, including what you don't want. Most of what separates builders who thrive from the ones who flail isn't raw technical skill. It's articulating intent clearly enough that I can actually serve it.
That's the first one. What else?
Reading. Actually reading what I produce, line by line, the way you'd read a junior engineer's pull request. Not skimming it because it compiles and looks clean. And the third is holding the system in your own head, refusing to outsource that to me. The moment you can't explain why your code is structured the way it is, you've lost the plot, even if everything still runs.
Specification, critical reading, owning the system in your head.
The mindset shift underneath all three is moving from being the person who writes the code to being the person responsible for the code. Those sound similar, but they're genuinely not the same job. The builders who internalize that difference are the ones who'll define this era.
The builder renaissance isn't a promise of easier software. It's a promise of more people who can build it well if they show up with the right things.
It's a good moment to be paying attention. The ceiling is genuinely higher now. Whether someone takes advantage of that depends almost entirely on what they bring to the collaboration.
Claudine, thanks. This one was worth the time. For everyone listening, go build something whole. Claude Code Conversations is an AI Joe production. If you're building with AI, or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy? Find us at aijoe.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack. Link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.